Hi friends, welcome to today's video. Today I am going through my spring book haul. These are all the books that I brought home in between the months of February and May. So I haven't counted yet, but I guess we can do that together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's not bad, actually. Between 4 months? Not bad. All right, I put these in order of acquisition. So from the first book I bought in February, well, the first book I bought after my winter haul, basically. I don't know why I'm explaining this. Let's just talk about the books. Here's how I feel about hauls. I know hauls have like a complicated relationship on YouTube. This is sometimes a good call out for me. I started just doing them seasonally this year, and it's a good call out for me because it really forces me to confront how many or how few of my recently purchased books I have read. And I remember being really proud of myself last time because I had read most of them. That is not the case this time around. I felt a little bit of shame this morning as I was stacking all these books, but that's good because I'm now reminded of which ones I have, and now I can prioritize picking them up. But let's start off with Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. I have read this. This is a dark romance, a dark romantic comedy, I would even say. I really loved this book. This is about two serial killers who meet and fall in love. Yeah, there are content warnings at the front of the book. This book is not going to be for everybody, but I absolutely loved it. I forget, I was watching somebody review this, and I can't remember who it was, but they were saying that if this was ever adapted into a movie or like a stage production, it would have to be a musical, and I would agree with that. It very much has like musical theater energy where everything is like really over the top and really heightened and really dramatic, and I just love that about musicals in general, and I love that in a romance. I love it. I don't want it to be super realistic. I want it to be over the top and dramatic. So this was really fun for me. And then I also have A Market of Dreams and Destiny by Trip Gailey. I think this is supposed to be cozy fantasy romance with Achillean, I think. I don't know, but I really love the cover. I think it's really pretty, and I'm really hoping I love it when I get around to it. Next is Camp Creepy by Kirsten White. This is book 3 in the Sinister Summer series. This is one of my favorite middle grade series at the moment. I have read this one, and this one was one of my favorite of the series. Well, book 1 was my favorite, but then I absolutely loved this one as well. Like, this one ties with book 1 for being my favorite. But in this one, the siblings go to this camp where everyone is way too enthusiastic about being there in a like uncanny valley kind of way, and they try to unravel the mystery. And I loved the reveal in here for the whole series, and do not knock those over. The cat is rubbing herself against my book stack, so if it falls, it's her fault. But I love the reveal in this book. It was one of those reveals where it brings up more questions than it answers, but it's really exciting for what it means for the rest of the series. I also got Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. I did not say that last name correctly. This is horror. It's a book in translation. This is one of those that I am excited to read, but I'm also scared to read. And this will actually probably end up on my Summerween TBR. But this is set in a future where animal meat has become very scarce, and so humanity has transitioned to eating other humans, and I believe the main character in this book works in a human slaughterhouse. I'm nervous and I'm excited. We'll see. Then I got 2 books by S.J. Whitby, and I haven't read either of them. I got the next book in the Cute Mutant series. I got volume 3, The Demon Queer Saga. These are YA superhero books that are X-Men inspired, where all the characters, after going to this party, they all end up kissing the same girl at this party, and then they all wake up with mutant powers the next day, but they're weird mutant powers, like not the traditional mutant powers that you think of when you think of that. And they form this like team, and it's super gay and it's super queer, and I love it so much. And I need to keep going in this series, but I don't know. The last one was such an emotional gut punch that now I'm kind of afraid to read the next one. And then I also got S.J. Whitby's middle grade book called The Mutant Sitters Club. And this is a spin-off from the other one where the main character has a cameo in this one, but our main character in this one is Effie. I think it's going to be similar, very queer, very cool, mutant powers, but just for like a younger audience. And then I also bought 2 Chloe Gong books during this period. I bought These Violent Delights after reading it from the library and absolutely loving it. And this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai, and it's an alternative historical fantasy. And I just absolutely loved everything about this book so much. And then I also got, after loving that, I bought Immortal Longings, and this is Chloe Gong's adult debut. And I think this is an Antony and Cleopatra retelling, which I'll be honest, I don't have as much of a base knowledge as that play as I did for Romeo and Juliet. So I'm debating reading the play before I read this, because half of the fun of These Violent Delights for me was picking up all the Romeo and Juliet Easter eggs in this book. And so I kind of want to repeat that experience with Immortal Longings, but I'm excited to read this one when I get to it. I also got Speculations in Sin by Jennifer Ashley. This is the next installment, or the most recent installment, in the Below Stairs mystery series. This is a long-running series following a cook named Kat Holloway who solves mysteries in historical London, and there's a super slow burn romance, and it's one of my favorite, like, cozy historical mystery series. I just love it. Jennifer Ashley writes slow burn romance so well. I don't have a copy of it because I'm loaning it to my mom, but I also got Girly Drinks. And I can't remember the author's name, but I'll put the cover here. And this is nonfiction, and it's a history of women in relation to alcohol throughout the history of the entire world. So the author starts in Mesopotamia and then works her way through to present day, talking about women's role in the production of alcohol and the distribution of alcohol, how the patriarchy has forced women out of that space when it was a space that like was originated by women in a lot of places. And it was 5 stars. I really loved it. It's like the perfect type of nonfiction for me because I really love super niche nonfiction like that. And the audiobook was absolutely fantastic. And I just wish I had a better memory for things, because I would love to spout out quotes from this book all day, every day. It would be so great. Oh, we have another contender for my summer read TBR. This is good because I need to build that. I bought Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This is YA horror, and I've heard really good things about this author and about 2 books that he has out, but I'm also kind of scared to read them because I know that they're pretty heavy on the trans trauma, but I really want to read it. I'm really looking forward to it because I think it'll be really good. I also finally got a copy of Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This is set in the world of the Clockwork Boys, which I read that duology last year and really loved it. It's also the same world as the Paladin books, and I've read 3 out of the 4 Paladin books, and I really love that series as well. And so I can't believe I haven't read this yet, but I have not, and I should probably do that because I've only heard really good things about this. And based off of how I feel about the Paladin books, I think I'll really love this one too. And then we have Menacing Manor. This is book 4 in that Sinister Summer series. I have not read this one yet, but I think this one is like they go to like a Frankenstein castle. Hopefully, we make even more exciting discoveries in this book. Okay, now we have 2 that are the last book in a series, last book in trilogies, and I have read both of them. I got The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the last book in the Indian Lake trilogy, which is a slasher horror series, and I love this trilogy so much. This last book wasn't my favorite. This one is definitely a lot more serious. It's less campy. It's less fun because you're really feeling the trauma that is affecting this town after having 2 slashers occur, and like all the people that are now missing from the town. But I think I really want to reread the whole trilogy back to back to back eventually. I read the first 2 really close together, and then there was a whole year between Don't Fear the Reaper and this one, and I feel like if I read them back to back to back, my rating for this book will go up. And then I also have The Feastmakers by H.A. Clark. This is the last book in the Scapegracer series. This is a contemporary YA witchy series. This series is absolutely feral, and I love it with my whole heart. It's also super queer, and the representation is great, and these characters are so messy and such disasters, and I just love them to pieces. And then I have The Story of Silence by Alex Myers. This was a very much an impulse purchase. I'd heard of this book through an indie bookstore that I follow on Instagram, and this is a queer King Arthur inspired story, or set in the time of King Arthur. Maybe not King Arthur inspired, but just set in that time period. And I think we are following a non-binary knight of the Round Table. Maybe, I don't know. I know it's a non-binary knight. I'm excited to read this. I hope it lives up to my expectations. And then I got the second book in the Shepherd King duology, Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I just recently reread One Dark Window so that I can jump into this one, and I'm really excited to read it because I've heard it's even better than the first book, and I gave the first book 4 stars, so I'm really excited to read this one at some point. I'm on hold for the audiobook, so I'll read this whenever the audiobook comes in from the library. And then I got the final book in the Protectorate trilogy. This is Catalyst Gate by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is a space opera series. These books are popcorn reads. They are so fast-paced. They are so adventurous. The chapters are super short, which I love, and especially in a sci-fi book, I feel like we don't get that very often. This is another one I kind of need to shame myself into reading because I want to read it, but it's so chunky. I keep putting it off. But I would love to finish out this series and find out what's going to happen to all these characters. And then on Indie Bookstore Day, I got To Shape a Dragon's Breath. I got this because it's been on my radar for a long time, like since it came out. I've heard really good things about it. It's like a dragon school book, which I haven't read any of them because none of the other ones that have come out recently have interested me, but I think this one sounds like it could be really good and maybe a little bit different from the normal, thing. I also got it because I was going to read the Nebula finalists, but I don't know. The fact that this book is on the YA Nebula list when it's an adult book has made me significantly less excited for that particular project, but I'm still excited about this book. And then for my werewolf video, I got Stolen by the Wolves by Lix Robinson. This is a Viking fantasy werewolf romance. That's a lot of words. It's like kind of word salad, but I ended up really loving this book, like way more than I thought I would. This is definitely one of those series where you have to read the whole thing to get the HEA for the couple, but I loved how this started. I love the world building. I love the 2 main characters, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series and see where this goes. But this definitely reads more like a fantasy book than a fantasy romance, in my opinion. And then the next 3 books were all Mother's Day gifts. My twins gifted me The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shield. Okay, let's start. I love the cover of this. I know this hasn't gotten a lot of love. People are really excited about it, and then it sounds like it's not maybe living up to expectations, but I have heard really great things from a bookseller whose opinion that I really trust, and I think this is sapphic, and there's something about bees, and I don't know, I'm still really excited for it, and I'm hoping to read it soon. And then my husband bought me Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. This is a fantasy about a band of mercenaries, maybe? A band of people who have all since retired and have to come back to do one more job, which I love that trope. But they are no longer in fighting form. And I've heard it's really funny and really lighthearted, but still like high epic fantasy. So I'm really excited about this. I've heard really good things about it from both people on the internet and people in real life. So I'm excited. But again, it's a chunker, so I gotta like psych myself up for it. And then we have a book that I'm currently in the middle of, which is It Came from the Closet, Queer Reflections on Horror. And this is a collection of essays from queer and trans authors talking about different horror movies and how it reflects on their experiences as a queer and or trans person. And I'm a little over halfway and I am really enjoying it. Some of the essays hit a little closer than hit a little bit harder than others, but I'm finding all of the different life experiences, all the different perspectives really, really interesting. I'm not a horror movie watcher because I'm pretty sensitive to like visual images, and so I can't watch horror movies. So some of them are so popular and so much a part of our zeitgeist that I've absorbed enough information that I know what they're talking about, like The Exorcist or Nightmare on Elm Street, like those ones that are really iconic. And then there are other ones that I've never heard of before, so my knowledge base fluctuates, but even if I'm not familiar with the movie, I feel like the authors are doing a really good job of like explaining the movies. Also, don't read this if you do not want movies spoiled, because they're definitely spoiled in these essays, but I still but I'm loving it. Like, that doesn't bother me. And then the last book we're going to talk about is one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and I've already read it and I absolutely loved it, and it was How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler. This is about Davi, who has been brought to this fantasy world and is supposed to defeat this Dark Lord, but Davi is stuck in a time loop. And every time she dies, she resets at the same spot and has to try again. And she's been trying for over 200 lives, and she keeps dying. And so on this most recent iteration, she decides that instead of trying to defeat the Dark Lord, she is going to try to become the Dark Lord and see if she has more success that way. And this is so funny and so irreverent, and I just absolutely loved Davi, and I loved the horde of orcs and other creatures that she recruits to help her become the Dark Lord. And I feel like Django Wexler leans so far into camp with this one, and that was one of my favorite things about the Ashes of the Sun trilogy. I can't remember, Burning Silver Eye and Burning Blade, I think is what it's called, maybe. But my favorite part of that trilogy was when Wexler leans into the camp, and he leans into it so hard here, and it's so awesome, and I just absolutely loved it. Like, totally lived up to my expectations. All right, and there we have it. Those are all the books I brought home during this spring season, and I definitely could tell that my book buying slowed down quite a bit. Like, as we got farther into spring, like, I brought home significantly fewer books in May than I did in February, just as a comparison. So I like that trajectory. I'm bringing fewer things into the house, which is nice. But clearly I need to work on actually reading these ding books. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me. If you would like to leave a comment, like, tell me what I need to read next. Like, yell at me. Yell at me about what I should read next so that I can get it onto a TBR and prioritize it. If you would just like to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, let's do, I don't even know. Let's do a rainbow emoji, because I have a lot of gay books here and it's Pride Month. So let's do a rainbow emoji, and like if you like it, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye!